No. Yeah, no, like the one over there is.
Go.
So the first order of business is public comments, and I don't see any community members. Correct? Next is to approve the minutes of the November 13th meeting.
Oh, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes are approved. Grant awards for specialized transportation service.
So I wanted to update everyone on the 8521. Sorry, I can't remember big numbers, so I have his favor. So we are giving Valley Transit and Go Transit the same amounts this year from the, and so each of them is getting $220,245.50, along with the required match of $44,049.10, equaling $264,294.60 for Valley Transit and for Go Transit. And they do receive other monies, but that is just from the 8521.
What is the 8521?
Sure, well, good question. So the 8521 is for specialized transportation. So meaning adults and disabled over age 60. And so we have multiple types of specialized transportation, but it's generally our cab service. And that is what they utilize it for. So anybody who's over the age of 60 or anyone who has a disability and is non-ambulatory, so a disability and unable to ride the bus, is able to utilize the specialized services, basically like a dial-a-ride cab service.
Yeah, is there a cost to that?
So there's a different cost depending upon, there's rural specialized transportation and then there's in the city. And so I think, and maybe Rob would remember this better than I do, I think it maybe still like $3 each way. Do you remember, Rob?
I used to, the only reason I'm asking, because I used to know because Deb and JR lived right down here on Merritt and they used that type of transportation all the time. They were both in wheelchairs, and now that JR, they're not going home again, so they had to sell their home.
Oh.
Yeah, so because my daughter was a caretaker for me. So, but yeah, so I just wondered if they.
There's a cost to it, but it's significantly less than it would be if you took a cab service. And then if it's rural, I think it's $7 each way, but I would have to pull up the specifics.
Okay.
Unless Rob knows off his head, he's pretty smart.
The last time I used dial, it was like about the 3.25 one way and then back. But I haven't used dial right in a couple of years. So my assumption would probably that it went up a little bit.
How close is that 264,000 when you change come to what they needed?
That's a good question. I'm not close. Okay. Although, at our last meeting, Valley Transit, so Valley Transit services Nina, and also the Appleton area, their senior rides have maintained and are rising. Oshkosh senior rides are down significantly. And there isn't necessarily a reasoning that they know of why the rides are down. But like I think they're down by almost like 30%. So like a significant number, less rides.
Interesting.
Well, I used to drive for the cab company here. And we used to do the dial-a-ride thing. And you know, the old grocery store that used to be over here at the thing. Well, we went there a lot because you know, the seniors would always go there. And so I don't know, do they got stuff like that going on now too, or is it just for disabled?
It's for the elderly. Anyone over 60 can utilize the service.
Do they, can you go from Oshkosh to Nina and then or the city?
Yes, the only current transportation option to go from Oshkosh to Neenah is, Go Connect, I think they're calling it
Yeah,
now. which
yeah, Go
is
Connect.
the Grow Transit option that they have right now. Rural means kind of like going from like Amro into Oshkosh.
And I believe that's a $5 each way.
For the micro transit, yep. And that takes you from the Oshkosh terminal basically to the Neenah terminal.
Thank you. Beth, you're up next with the 2024 state allocation.
Yes, so there was $5 million that the state approved in their current biennium budget, which took effect July 1st for ADRCs. And so they used a very, very convoluted formula based on the number of people over age 60 in the county, the number of people who are minority over the age 60, the number of people with disabilities, several different factors, and they determined new dollar amounts. There are some counties who are actually going to lose funding potentially in 2 years. They're being held harmless now, but for the time being, our budget will be going up about $40,000 a year. So we don't have a designated purpose for that at this point. Obviously not enough to hire a staff with, but it's about $42,000 a year. I don't have the contract in place yet. So I'm just informing you that we are going to be receiving some additional funds starting in January. And yeah, that's what I know. That's all right.
Kathy,
Kathy, do you need the agenda? Thank you. Take my name. Thank you for your help. Any questions about the
You say we're gonna get $22,000 extra. Now, do we have some plans for that 42,000?
Nope.
That's
We do not.
expected. And now my question is, do you think of turning that money back to the state?
No.
Rather to give it another county that maybe needs it?
No, we're not. Right now, the state as a whole is underfunded, or I mean, we're not using a full allocation anyway. So, there's already counties who are not using their full amounts. There's not really that big of a need for that. I would want to make sure that we're not putting a dime of levy into our program first. So kind of replace the levy with the grant funds. We do have some additional outreach events that we can use it for. Jim actually sent me a couple of ideas that we can use that for. And there is potential, depending on the next biennium and what's happening with APS, that we could do somewhat of a half-time resource position, or just look at making sure all of our needs are met first. So if we get halfway through the year and we truly do not need those funds, we could talk about that. But right now, I'm not convinced that we don't need them. That makes sense?
That does, but there's only more than one way to look at something. The money is supposed to help the elderly and the disadvantaged. And why should we goof around and come up with some goofy program? Or maybe another county's got some people that are really hurting and they're not gonna get a benefit.
True. And, you know, we can also use ADRC funds for our prevention classes. So the public health has been strapped to try and make it work for their prevention classes. So we really have to look at what possibilities we have and what our needs are first. We just found out 2 weeks ago that we're getting the funding. So, you know, it wasn't like we've been waiting for it and we've had these thoughts in mind about what we're going to do or not do. And we're not going to spend it just to spend it. But I just don't think we have a thorough enough picture of what our true needs are right now before we determine whether we would potentially give anything back.
I think it gets reviewed again in 6 months.
Mhm.
I have one question. Is that paid out in intervals or is that one lump sum?
It's monthly. So we bill the state for that and they pay it back pretty quickly, but it's monthly.
Is that guaranteed for next year, or is that just this year?
That is for next year, starting January. So they did not actually allocate anything in 2023. They were trying to decide what to do.
No, I mean for 2025.
Oh, yes, it is for,
It'll-
yeah, they have it, our allocation will stay that for through 2027.
Anyone else? Thanks, Beth.
Mhm.
Types of residential settings.
I don't think that Elizabeth is on the call, unfortunately. So I will just have to, yeah, I don't see her.
What does this refer to?
So Elizabeth Jones had a request to talk about different types of residential settings. So raise your hand if you want a handout right now. Let's go down. Yeah. Yeah. You want one? Okay. Anybody else need a copy of it? If some of you will remember, we had a study done by a UW Oshkosh sociology professor on availability of residential settings, assisted living, basically. And we defined what they were in the study, but we didn't really talk in depth as a committee. So Elizabeth had shared that she's looking for something for her son and isn't really familiar with what's available. When we talk about caregiver shortages can be in a person's home where you have someone coming in to help out. And that's where we do a lot of our caregiver support programs, go for people living in their own home and have someone coming in to help them stay in their own home. But the kinds of situations that I'm calling residential settings are when you move out of your own home into a place that has some level of staffing with it. So an adult family home can be licensed for 2 people or 4 people. There is 24-hour staff available through that adult family home. So if you don't need it all, you could still go out in the community and not utilize the staff, but that's it. It comes with the program. There's 24-hour staff available. And typically they separate the cost of the staff from the cost of the housing board. So your housing and your food is paid for by you. And then the service part of it, the staffing part of it can be paid for by family care or private funds or things like that. Sometimes people get enough VA funds for stuff like that too, but that has to be paid separately. A community-based residential facility or CBRF, the difference between a adult family home and a CBRF is the number of people it's licensed for. So CBRFs are licensed for 5 people or more. So if I'm going to open up a residential setting and I want 3 people to live there, I'm going to be licensed as an adult family home by the state. If I want to serve 6 people, I now have to be licensed as a CBRF by the state. And so with that comes additional like fire code precautions because more people are living there, there's more susceptibility. And so they both have 24-hour staff, but typically CBRFs offer a higher level of staffing, and they do have additional regulations to meet by the Department of Quality Assurance, who does the licensing. Part of that study was also what we call RCACs, or residential care apartment complexes. And in those settings, those are typically much larger settings, and you have your own apartment, your own living space, like if you think of a big apartment complex, and there's staff available, but it's not like 24-hour in your apartment. That is not an RCAC. One of the requirements to live in an RCAC is you have to be, you can't be under guardianship or active power of attorney. So that means like you are capable of caring for yourself and making decisions for yourself at a higher level. You can live in those other settings if you have a guardian activated or a power of attorney activated. You cannot live in an RCAC if you have a different court-ordered decision maker. And then it just lists a little bit about what kind of services they offer. And then
I got a question.
Mhm.
Is it, so this is just for what age?
18 and older, any of these.
18 or
So
older.
you could be a 20-year-old and you could be a 80-year-old.
Wow.
Usually facilities designate who they serve. So it's rare that you'd see people, young adults, maybe with autism and some potential aggressive behaviors, along with a bunch of elderly people who are in a wheelchair. They have to be licensed as to who they serve. They have to be licensed, whether they're ambulatory, semi-ambulatory, or non-ambulatory. So ambulatory is that people have to be able to get around on their own. Semi-ambulatory means you could live there if you had a walker or something like that, a device. And non-ambulatory serves people who are in a wheelchair. So those are all part of licensing and regulated by that. You can't just accept someone into the home that you're running based on collecting their income. It has to be based on their needs, their abilities, and things like that.
So where are these homes?
All over the state.
Because, Kathy, my stepson is in a home like that.
Mhm.
And he was been paying like, what is he paying right now? $6,000 a month? But he's got, we're hoping that he can get to the point to where he'll be able to go in his own apartment. Where, the nurses don't have to come in and bring him food or do this or do that for him or whatever.
And they can be very expensive.
They are, and there's no place else to go. That's the problem. There is nothing. There's not many places that will do what they do over there.
And that's part of it, is that typically when you're in an adult family home, they often don't do the level of care that you would get like in a CVRF. So if you're in a certain settings, don't do the level of care that people need.
With our CAC, I understand that you have an apartment inside of a building or something, but is there staff there for
Mhm.
common areas? So,
24 hour a day.
yeah, that's what I'm picturing. Is it like Heritage?
Brian, can you hear us? Is Heritage a RCAC?
It is not that I'm aware of. I think it's just a 55 and older apartment complex.
Okay. And do you know, with an RCAC, you can get staff from a different agency too, right?
Yeah, I don't think it has to be the overnight staff or anything at the facility. I think it can be. It isn't usually. It is the overseer of the building that provides that care.
It typically isn't, right?
It typically is not, correct?
Yep. So what Brian's saying is that, I apologize for the audio. What Brian is saying is that with an RCAC, it's really a place to live. And the staff typically come from a different agency. So if I'm running an RCAC, I'm probably not the entity providing staff, and there's probably not someone there overnight. So it kind of goes back to that division of room and board versus service cost. I'm gonna pay what it costs to live in the RCAC, and I'm gonna buy my groceries and pay that cost. And then the cost for staff to come in, the service that they provide would be funded, could be privately, could be some type of benefits, or it could be family care. So those are the primary non-nursing home level of care residential settings. The other setting that's not necessarily clear on here, and I did include a link where it talks a little bit about it, is it is for people with developmental disabilities that aren't related, or they called it an FDD here. I'm more familiar with it. It's at the very last part of the handout. I'm more familiar with it being called supported living. So there are living situations where I might live in my own home. Well, Kate might purchase a home and me and her daughter might live there, and I might have 24-hour staff available for me in that home that come and go. That's not licensed because it's Kate's home and her family members living in there. So there's no need to license it. So there's these non-licensed settings that are called I guess.
The halfway house? Is that what they used to be?
Possibly, I think that the old term, yeah. So it's again, it's a setting where the company that's providing the staff doesn't own the homes. You can't license them because it's two different entities. There's a homeowner and there's a service provider, and they're two different things. And those are not always licensed. So again, I call them supported living situations. On the state website here, they call it an FDD. Liz, I think you're on the call now. I don't know if you have questions or if you're able to pick up on what's being shared.
Yes, I can hear. I'm sorry, I had trouble getting in. And so believe it or not, I'm on my phone as a result, but I can hear now on my phone. And yes, I've been following. Thank you.
You are kind of blended. Well, maybe they're not there anymore, but, I had an aunt who was living in homes of Oscars at one time, now it's Winnebago. But, there's one of their homes, it was an RCAC, but they're staffed with nursing staff from 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. And then there's more of a nursing assistant type staff, a resident assistant, whatever titles they give them, 24/7 at that particular facility. But
Correct.
yeah,
And that's,
it's staffed by Winnebago.
yep, so there's that, and then they have just the independent living attached to it or near it, right?
Yeah, they have all the different levels.
Yes.
Memory care and.
So,
Independent.
yeah, what Jan's talking about is Miravita, Evergreen, St. Paul's and Kakana. There's a few different places that have what I would call a complex with, they might have independent living where it's just senior living. You have to be over 55 or 60 and you don't really get any supports through that. Part of it might be licensed as an RCAC where you're getting some level of support and all the way up to a nursing home. So there are facilities where you don't have to leave entirely. You have to leave the part of the facility that you're in, but you know, you might have the same familiarity with at least the overall property. Does that make sense?
That's what Heritage really is up in Manashita. In fact, they go to Heritage, then they have Peabody and Cherry Meadow. So
Exactly. So you kind of go from one to another. You can go from one to another. The thing about that people like is not only the familiarity, but typically if you're advancing to the point of need where you have to move, they're going to kind of reserve a spot or they're going to plan it for you versus a brand new person coming in needing support might have to go on a waiting list. They will serve their people first.
And some of those down payments, if you will, that you have to make to get in, just follow.
Exactly. Yep. So there are some.
But we want them.
Yep.
Right.
So how many fees are there to do something like that? Are there fees or something? You just
The
focus?
fees change depending on the level.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So if you're in an independent living situation,
That was like 1,600 just to live
and
there.
then if you graduate through to assisted living to full nursing care, the numbers.
Well, the numbers go up, obviously, yeah. Because,
Right now to date, that's what the cost is of these various levels.
They usually go from about 2,500, probably nowadays a little more than that, up to, I think 7,000 is the highest one I'm aware of. Brian does more of the authorizations. I don't know if he's got a higher number than that. But.
No, I think that's pretty consistent. We don't, if we did authorization, it would be a daily rate, not a full month with the programs that we have. But I think that's pretty accurate, 5 to 7, and then a nursing home up from that.
Yep, so he's saying $5,000 to $7,000 a month and nursing homes are more than that.
And the highest that we've ever approved through non-private services is 8,000 and then 10,000 for others.
$10,000. Holy smokes. So where do these older people get this money from? They actually will take all of your income then because
Correct.
you get any allowance?
Usually like $100 a month.
$100 a month allowance?
There's a standard on all that.
Oh, there is an allowance.
You
Numbers
have
are
to
pretty
spend
small.
down though to get.
Yeah, in order to get Medicaid to pay for it, first of all, you have to spend down typically to under $2,000 in assets. And then they will take it all and give you about $100 a month left.
Unless you're married and own your own home, the spouse gets to stay until it's all done. And in the end, they get their money.
Yeah, any way you look at it, believe me. Because Rosemary Pitts, when she went into the King, they took everything.
Sure.
They took her house and her income, everything. I don't know about that, but I knew they took the house.
The government does not pay for programming if you have the money to do it yourself.
Right, yeah, well. King is a VA facility, but I know they take everything. They don't mess around, so. Hopefully it never gets to that point for me,
Any more questions or comments about the residential settings? Did Liz get what she was looking for?
Doesn't look like she's got any questions.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the fact that we did this.
You're welcome. I know you asked for it a while back and we finally are getting to it.
Well, that and plus the handout was very helpful. Thank you.
Excellent. And that website should be even more useful.
Yes, thank you very much. My husband and I actually dived into it. I guess it was yesterday, so thank you.
Excellent.
Quite an indication. Okay, committee reports. So. We have a lot of committees here. We could also go to Brian.
Sure. So I can tell you guys about a couple of the things from our age-friendly Oshkosh steering committee. Our current project that we are working on. So our three goals are to do something that impacts housing, transportation, and or social isolation. And so our team thought of a way to do all three. So starting in January, we are going to be once a month for three winter months. We are going to be taking 5 people in the community who are in the most amount of need to the grocery store. Because what we've found is that sometimes people have to choose between food and housing. So in order to assist with housing, we can help a little bit with food insecurity. And so, which is why those outreach funds like that said would come in handy for people, Harold, because we spoke at a conference. And so we put in the work to do a presentation for the National Gerontology Conference in order to earn $500, and we're using it to buy people food. So we are going to be giving everyone that we're taking each month a $25 gift card. We will help them with shopping. Clearly $25 isn't going to solve their problem, but it assists. We'll be providing the transportation, so then that's something that can help them. And then afterwards, we're taking the group of 5 people to Planet Perk. They have a cat room. And so we are going to.
What is it? What kind of room?
A cat room.
What is that?
So it's a coffee shop that has.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And pet cats.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know about Planet Perk and I know the owner, but I didn't know they had that.
Yeah, they do. It's something new. And so we were hoping, if people don't want to go to the cat room, these cats, they're allergic. But we're going to take then all 5 people to Planet Perk and give them an opportunity to get out and engage with people socially. And if they don't want to engage with people, they can engage with the cats. And we're going to give them $8 to be able to get a treat and some coffee and do something for themselves. And yeah, so that's our project. One of the things that we realized with our committee is that everyone has really, really good ideas and all of our ideas are so big. But what can we do today to help people? And so that's what we've done is we've kind of had a mission 3 times a year, twice a year. What can we do at a small scale to actually make a difference for a small amount of people? And so we did the leaf raking project and that went well. And so now we're doing this project for January, February, and March.
How did you choose the 5 people?
So we haven't yet. So actually we're going to allow public health and the ADRC to make the referrals for the 5 people, because we want to make sure that we're finding people who are actually really in need and who maybe are socially isolated, who don't have natural supports. So we have just sent out information to staff to start thinking about people who would benefit. We have a lot of people that we service through the ADRC that have dementia, and maybe earlier stages of dementia who really could utilize the socialization and getting out in the community and help with grocery shopping so they're not driving. And so our goal is someone who's semi-ambulatory, and someone who really could benefit from the socialization as well as the, you know, we're not going to be able to provide a lot of assistance, but some minimal assistance.
Will it be the same 5 people every month, or you're gonna have a different?
The goal would be to do a different 5 people each month, but if we can't find another 5, we can keep doing the same 5. So it's kind of our little project to test it out, and then we'll have to figure out a way to make some more money to do it again.
Nice. Very nice. Did you have other?
So then our second project that we're working on, and we're just getting a committee together to start working on it, is for our Elder Abuse Awareness Day. It's coming up June 15th. It comes up really fast. And so our goal this year is to focus on proactive approaches to elder abuse. And there are a lot of proactive approaches. And so we are going to highlight at our event some of those things. One of them is we're going to bring our virtual dementia to the event. And we're gonna run people, whoever's willing to do to virtual dementia. We are going to have a booth for POAs so that people can come to get their POAs done, because two of the biggest things we see in the community with elder abuse is people who don't have their POAs done, and people who are struggling with dementia and are in crisis. And so getting people and family members in the community to understand how to support someone so that they can stay in their homes so they don't end up in crisis, and then having as many people as possible get their POAs done. So we have a decision maker, because we do a lot of guardianships, which is very intrusive, because people don't have their POAs done. And if they would have had their POAs, then we would not have had to do a guardianship. We do very few guardianships because the POA isn't working, very few. It's mostly because people don't have their POAs done. And then the other thing we're going to have there, and we're still in the planning process, so if anyone has any ideas, we're really open to it, is having Project Lifesaver there. So people know, you know, different opportunities, and then like our Purple Tube project. So we'll have people to be able to sign up for that. We'll have Project Lifesaver there. And then, like I said, we haven't had a planning meeting yet. This is just my initial idea of trying to be proactive, because we do get a lot of, like last year we had the news that came out. So we do get a lot of attention for this event. And so we're trying to utilize this event to bring awareness to some of the things that are really important. And so that we get that more out into the community. And then the third thing that we're doing is we're increasing our virtual dementia. We have been reaching out and coming up with ways to not just do it at Parkview, but to bring it into the rural areas. And so that's our goal for 2024. We are getting 2 more people trained so we can do it on a larger scale and have it to be more event-based. Because what we found is that when families go through the virtual dementia experience, their eyes are opened, caregivers' eyes are opened, and they're like, wow, if I only would have known this before it got this bad. And so what we want to do is just bring awareness. And possibly we've been working with UW Oshkosh actually, and they have a community engagement where they're thinking that maybe UW Oshkosh we can get some of the nursing students to go through it. So we have lots of big ideas for 2024. We're starting to work on those now because it comes fast.
So make sure you print some flyers out.
Absolutely. We're working on those right now.
What did you say?
June 15th.
Isn't that a Saturday?
I think it's a Thursday. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe I didn't look into it. That's Elder Abuse Awareness Day, but
Oh, Liz,
Could
Liz, what were you gonna say?
I was just going to interject and say, I think it's great that you're reaching out to UW Oshkosh with their nursing program. Please also remember that Fox Valley Technical College has a pretty expansive nursing program. And if you'd like contact information to include them, or maybe in a future event or something like that, I'm sure they'd love that.
It is a Saturday, so we'll have to find out when Wisconsin is gonna celebrate it.
So what about the Alzheimer's Association or the Association of Frontal Temporal Dementia? Because they have, that's how I got plugged in quite a few things.
Yeah, and I think that they're focusing on research right now, but we definitely will can
But
connect.
they connect caregivers and family members.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right, Beth. It is on a Saturday. I never looked at that. So we'll have to find out when Wisconsin is going to celebrate it.
Okay. Who would like to go next? How about Brian? Is he on?
Brian, you have updates?
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks for letting me join via Zoom. I'm not feeling all that skippy, so didn't want to spread what I potentially have to anyone else. I usually give you guys updates on kind of how many enrollments we've done every month. The month of November was a little bit easier month for us from enrollments to family care and Iris standpoint. We had 37, which is a little lower than our even just an average month. So that had been 65 the month before. But we're continuing to get so many referrals to us that call us specifically to ask for a functional screen. So they've been primed by another professional, whether that's a discharge planner, I think I mentioned that at the last meeting, or a social worker, but someone, they're calling us saying, I need a functional screen. And we don't really know why that's occurring, but as I mentioned last month, it kind of hamstrings us a little bit as an ADRC from the perspective of we're supposed to start with natural supports and work with people on the options that are available in their life to help. And we're already getting to public programs when we get the phone call. So it's, I'm not sure why that is, but I think it has to do with discharge planning. I mentioned at the last meeting, but we did 90 unduplicated long-term care functional screens in the month of November. We had 91 in the month of October. So we are continuing on that blistering pace because of that reason, because I mean, there is a lot of need in our community, certainly. But we, I think, have some research to do as to whether our referrals are as appropriate as they can be, or if our social service system here in Winnebago County is kind of getting the cart before the horse a little bit for us. So I think that's something that we need to know in 2024. Just for your knowledge, I introduced Ashley at the last meeting. She's doing very wonderfully. It's been a huge help for having some help in processing enrollment packets that do go over. So she's bright, she's learning fast. So that's very encouraging. And just to let you know, I am in the process of finishing up observations on my staff. One of the things that our regional quality specialist, Rhonda Lechner, wants us to do is get out and observe our staff doing the job. So that can be information and assistance, it can be options counseling, it can be enrollment counseling, and it can even be disenrollment counseling. But this is something that kind of got backburnered a little bit in my life, just from the standpoint of I couldn't get out of the office because we're processing packets just because of the staffing pattern we've had this year. So finishing those up, that's going well. Actually went on one today. It was wonderful. It's always fun to get out to the community. I'm an old social worker at heart, and it's always a good thing for me to be around the kitchen table. I love it. It's just finding the time to do that has been a little difficult. So getting those done. I don't know that I really have any other updates. Keeping busy. Any questions for me?
Everybody hear that report? Any questions? Feel better.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you guys as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Beth, you have anything?
We have a retirement early January, so we did some interviews last week and have made a decision. I cannot announce her name yet because as far as I know, there hasn't been an accepted offer, but she does come from another ADRC, which is a real bonus. So we're looking forward to being able to not have a big gap between employees. ADRC specialist up in Nina, yep. And then finishing up contracts. I don't know if this is part of the next meeting agenda, but just that we had a lot of ideas at the last meeting about things that we want to get done at these meetings. One of them was to have local legislators coming, and they're not in session in March. So I was going to kind of target our March meeting for legislative staff to come here. I will update you more as I know it. I can start working on it soon. But hopefully we can have either the actual senators or their representatives coming here to just talk to us about what they're working on and what we see as some community needs. We've done that before.
Okay, great. Am I missing anything? Okay. Would you like to start? Is there anything else that you have today?
I don't think so. I have to leave in a couple of minutes. My daughter is performing in a nursing home. So I gotta get her there to have her kindergartners do a dance. So residents at the
There
nursing
you
home
go.
look forward to it all year, and during COVID, they didn't allow it, so it's something exciting for them to see.
Oh, that is fun. Okay. Do you have anything? Dan? No? I don't have anything special. How about you, Rob?
No, I don't.
I don't.
Nothing, Michael?
Nothing except I did bring up to Beth, as of a week or two ago, the Alexa, if you have it in your house, you can now ask Alexa to dial 911.
Oh, interesting.
Now, if you don't have an Alexa, you can yell what you want.
No.
Don't tell the grandkids.
There you go.
Absolutely don't.
How about I have something?
We reported all of that.
Carol, do you have
I had
anything?
no report.
Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Hannah. I'm from UW Oshkosh, a nursing student. I'm Olivia. I was at the last meeting as well, so.
Are you all nursing students? Great. Wonderful. Glad to see you here. Okay. Did you want to put the future agenda item out now?
Yeah,
Sure.
I sent this to Beth. One of the things that an idea is, I get the feeling a lot of times that people don't know what EDRC is. And the more we get involved in the communities, at least by identity, that it might be helpful for us. Now, I was thinking, actually, I was watching the Christmas parade on TV. And I thought, what a great opportunity for ADRC to maybe get a float, put a scene on there, maybe the dementia thing on there. Just maybe even have like a family setting on a trailer that shows some of the things that we can provide and have it, with ADRC on there. That would allow us to go anywhere. You go in Oshkosh if they have a parade, you go to Winnebago, you go to all the communities so that everybody would know. That was one thought. The other thought that I had was I asked if we have money available that we could take perhaps seniors in that, put them on a bus or take them somewhere, those that can, and show them, drive around for looking at the Christmas lights, or perhaps doing things in the summer, fireworks, or some civic things that we can get people involved in that we could sponsor to get our name out. And then the third one that I was thinking is last month, I think it was, somebody made a comment that there's no aging committee in Oshkosh. What, did I hear that right?
No, I think that.
Correct.
And what my thought or my question is that something that would be beneficial for the ADRC to assist Oshkosh in developing one, and perhaps going to Amro, Winnebago, and assisting them in getting some kind of a committee or something so that there's a liaison between the community and the county and the people.
Oshkosh just disbanded theirs. They had one for a long time. So, I guess I would have to find out why they disbanded, just get some more information on that.
Was that through the senior center?
No, it was through the city. It was a city committee.
But those were the things I was thinking that for future, if we talked about them, said,
Mhm.
yeah, no, we're.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas.
thank you. Let me do some more exploration on that.
Somehow, could you find out? The Committee on Aging. Is that required by the state of Wisconsin?
Yes, it is.
That's what
Um,
I'm gonna look at Oshkosh drop.
so it's required in order to receive Older Americans Act funding. So they might not be receiving Older Americans Act funding. We as a county, this is our Commission on Aging. We serve as the ADRC and the Committee on Aging, so that's why the funding that Nicole talks about, we're able to get that funding because of this committee. So I know that it's a requirement if you receive Older Americans Act funding. But
Didn't you say that, the two different committees were supposed to come together, but they didn't, and the, Commission on Aging, didn't wanna be part of the EDRC.
We are the Commission on Aging. Yep. we
Well,
serve as
I'm
both.
just saying like that meeting went to, the impression I got was they didn't want to be on our committee. You know what I'm referring to?
Are you thinking of the Transportation Committee?
No, I'm not thinking of transportation.
Um,
I'm thinking of, yes,
no, it's not ringing a bell.
worrying about,
Was it something Nicole was involved with?
no.
No. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I went to a meeting in Raleigh, I think you used to be a part of the ADRC.
Yeah, does anyone want to volunteer to call the city of Oshkosh and find out why they disband their committee?
Through the phone, but I think I know what happened.
Yeah,
It was on the Arts and Beautification Committee. All of a sudden, we had our new city council. And they combined all, we were combined with the museum. So I'm wondering if they got combined with another group.
that's
He
possible.
didn't even tell us. We were in the meeting and no one was there. So it was really bad.
Yeah, I don't even know. I think they still have a diversity, equity, inclusion, but they did, now that you say that it triggers, they did combine a bunch of their committees.
I mean, if they got combined with somebody.
Yeah. Okay, unless there's any takers, I'm gonna give them a call. All right.
Do you need somebody else to do it?
No, I just don't know when I'll get to it, that's all. So I will find out from the city, and I can do some more inquiry. I'm gonna see Amro tomorrow. Their community center, and find out for the Menasha, senior center, what, I can do some more inquiries.
Pretty sure they don't do such a thing in Winnebago, but I can investigate it.
Thank you. Just gonna get there. I appreciate it.
The community, are you going to the new senior center for their groundbreaking?
Yeah.
Where is that gonna be at?
It's on a building in Main Street in Oshkosh. It used to be a bank. They were in the assisted living building at the old school. And then they've been kind of hodgepodging something together, and now they're gonna be opening up at the new center, which is forget the address, but it's on it's an old bank on Main Street.
In Amro.
Yeah.
And those were Spirit Funds that did that.
Oh, that's right, that's right. What am I thinking of? We were there when they passed it.
Yeah, that's an animal. That was,
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was a church. It was a bank and then a church.
Okay,
something like that. woman that came there and asked for the money.
Yeah, they had already
They
bought the
had-
building.
They had money coming in, but she didn't put that on the application. And they were right down to the wire. Basically saying, hey, we made a mistake, but we got this money. Can you bail us out? And we did do that.
Yeah,
no,
it's most recently a church.
Bailout, it had to be done.
If it didn't, then they would lose everything that they already put in.
Right.
And,
It's gonna be a great service for Unruh. They had it and they lost it.
and now they got it.
Is that,
I can comment.
yeah, call the National Senior Center and see, you know, do they have a committee on aging or, because
I did snoop on that when I got involved with Nina. And they really don't, but I'll call over that anyway.
Yeah, there's more information. Thank you. Okay. Okay, yeah, just to get some more information, and then I will put it on next month's agenda to kind of report back with committees on aging, locally.
I'm willing to.
I'm guessing you're right too.
Yeah, but the question is, how are the people in the city of Oshkosh being served?
That would be the question, as well as Amarillo, Menasha, you know, yeah, I don't know, because I know that sometimes when you combine a committee, it can get very watered down. But maybe they combined with something that made sense. I don't think so though, because Judy Ritchie was the chairperson. And as you said, Ron Durkup from our former staff was on it, and I think it was just disband. I don't know. Guess we'll have to find out more.
And it might be interesting to talk to the city attorney.
To see if we qualify as
But
replacement.
my understanding was I said, you know, you have certain rules you have to follow if you get federal money. And I just cannot believe that in the past, the city of Oshkosh sort of turned down federal money.
Right. Yeah.
And you would think before they would make that decision to cut those people out, they would talk to the city attorney and say, is this legal?
Yeah, and I don't know that they were offered the money. This is an, local,
Well,
committees.
no.
Yeah, but something for us all to learn. And then Liz, I don't think we checked in with her, did we?
Oh, Liz, do you have anything else today? Are you still there?
I am sorry. I have to press the button in order to be able to talk. Sorry about that. No, I don't have anything to report. Again, I just want to thank you guys. Learned a lot. So I appreciate that very much.
That's great. You have a big task on your plate.
Made a little easier because of today. Thank you.
One thing to ask of you, Liz, we do have our monthly newsletter and we tend to get a lot of information about things that are happening with our older adult programs. And if you can get something to us, if you know of different activities that are happening in the adults with disabilities world, please feel free, or any of you, to channel it to me to get into our newsletter.
Oh, you bet. Actually, absolutely. Both from a social standpoint and like support group, etc. Yes, I will. I won't overload you, but I'll be happy to selectively send things that I think might be of interest. Thank you.
Yep, I appreciate it.
Great. Okay, if there's nothing else, I'll adjourn the meeting at 3:58. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas. Go Pack Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.